Welcome to our presentation of the Greater Sandhill Cranes of Northwest Colorado. This video has been produced by the Colorado Crane Conservation Coalition, whose purpose is to educate people about cranes and to protect cranes and their habitat. These very special birds arrive in March to nest and raise their young here in the Yampa Valley. We are very lucky to have these birds here. Cranes only nest in certain areas where conditions are just right for them. Today, you will learn a lot about cranes and other large birds that live in the Yampa Valley. As the snow has started to melt this spring, perhaps you've seen these tall birds near the river or in your neighborhood. So what makes a crane a crane? How do you know when you're actually looking at a sandhill crane? Cranes are really big birds. They stand 4 to 5 feet tall. Consider how tall you are in relation to a crane. The average third grader stands at about 4 feet tall. A sandhill crane's wingspan measures 5 to 8 feet from wingtip to wingtip. Spread out your own arms to pretend they are wings. In humans, your arm span is usually equal to your height. In cranes, however, their wingspan exceeds their height. That means that their outstretched wings reach wider than they are tall. Sandhill cranes' wings are so long that when they fold them over, they cover up their short tail feathers and look like a large tail or a bustle. That bustle is really their wings. Cranes use color for camouflage. So what color is an adult sandhill crane, anyways? Crane feathers are gray. In the spring, many cranes paint themselves with mud. This makes their feathers look brown or rust-colored. You might wonder why cranes would do this. It's for camouflage, so that they will be harder to see when they are sitting on their nests. Here are some sandhill cranes digging for mud and painting their wings in order to blend in with their environment. Each sandhill crane has a red patch on its head. This is bare skin that can change size in order to express how a crane is feeling. The patch gets bigger when a crane is very excited or when it's feeling threatened. The large patch is a way to communicate to other cranes to stop and pay attention. Cranes have really long legs. Sandhill cranes live in wet, soggy places called wetlands. Their long legs help them to walk through tall grass and to wade in shallow water where they nest and feed. Look closer at the crane's beak. Cranes use their long, hard beaks to dig for food in the ground and in shallow water. They also use their beaks to drive away other cranes or predators. What is a predator? A predator is an animal that hunts other animals for food. Crane predators include coyotes, foxes, skunks, and golden eagles. Notice the really long neck on a sandhill crane. The crane's long neck is useful for reaching food and for looking over tall grass, keeping safe from predators. Cranes have special feet. They do not have webbed feet like ducks, and that's because they usually only swim when their chicks are too young to fly and they want to move from one part of a wetland to another. Notice anything unusual about their hind toe? That elevated back toe is very short, and this prohibits them from perching in trees. Other birds have a long back toe, which can wrap around a branch. If you see a bird standing in a tree, it is definitely not a sandhill crane. Do you recognize that sound? Chances are you've heard a crane call. Cranes make a loud bugling noise that can be heard from up to 2 miles away. Many times you will hear cranes call long before you ever see them flying overhead because their voices carry so far. The secret to the crane's loud call is its long windpipe. It sits coiled up inside their chests. Think of a musical instrument which is also long but coiled up, like a trombone. Let's talk about the life cycle of a sandhill crane. Out in the wild, cranes can live to be 15 to 25 years old. During those years, they will mate, lay eggs, and raise many young birds. It is hard to distinguish the male from the female crane. Every year in March, the sandhill cranes return from New Mexico and Arizona to the Yampa Valley. The blue area at the bottom of this map shows you where you can find the Yampa Valley cranes during the wintertime. When a crane is 4 to 5 years old, it will find a partner, its mate. Cranes will stay together for their entire lives. Crane couples usually return to the same nest sites that they used the year before. Cranes have 2 homes, a winter home and a summer home. They always like to return to the same neighborhood where they feel safe. In the spring, cranes build large, simple nests on ground that is surrounded by water. Their favorite places to nest are in wetlands. Having a nest on the ground is a very dangerous proposition because it can be attacked by many predators, such as coyotes, foxes, skunks, raccoons, golden eagles, and even domestic animals like cats and dogs. Cranes will aggressively chase off predators using 3 built-in weapons. First, their wings can deliver a powerful blow. Second, their toes have razor-sharp claws. And third, their bills are dagger-like and can strike with great accuracy from as far away as 4 feet. Sandhill crane nests have a built-in alarm system. By building their nests on the ground surrounded by water, cranes are alerted to any approaching predators because they hear the splashing of the water. If you ever happen to see a crane's nest, be very careful not to get close to it. If you do, you will disturb the birds and they might leave the nest. And if they leave, their eggs will not hatch. Typically, cranes lay 2 eggs. They lay them a couple days apart, and both parents take turns incubating the eggs. They then hatch about 30 days later. Ever wonder what the eggs look like for these really big birds? For a good comparison, take a look at these sandhill crane eggs placed next to a chicken egg. Shortly after they hatch, sandhill cranes look like this, golden and fluffy. Baby cranes are called chicks. It takes a lot of energy to hatch, but crane chicks can do many things within just a few hours of hatching. Chicks can see immediately when they hatch. This helps them know who their parents are. They also have strong beaks. They can start taking food from their parents when they are just 1 day old. And crane chicks can stand up and walk with their parents within just a few hours of hatching. Fluffy cinnamon-colored feathers called down feathers are what help keep crane chicks warm. You probably know how warm a down jacket can be. This is the same for them. Their reddish-brown color helps them hide from predators in the grasses near their nests. When young cranes are a few weeks old, they are called colts, just like baby horses. Crane colts grow very fast. For during the first 2 months after they hatch, they grow about 1 inch every single day. After only 3 months, they are 4 or 5 feet tall, almost as big as their parents. And at this point, they are learning to fly. Cranes grow much faster than humans. If you grew 1 inch every day like a baby crane, you would be taller than your house by now. In order to grow so quickly, cranes need a lot of food. Cranes are omnivores, and that means they will eat just about anything they can find in the wild. Pictured here is a colt that's about 70 days old. See how the eye is still dark? It hasn't turned orange yet, and it doesn't have a red crown yet. The crane colt that you see here is about 5 months old. Its forehead is gray, its eyes are buff yellow, and its bill is starting to turn black. Cranes are the oldest living species of bird on planet Earth. To survive for so long, cranes have had to adapt to many changes in the environment. Their varied diet has helped them survive for millions of years. In fact, these pictures are fossils of crane-like birds that lived 10 million years ago. Sandhill cranes use a wetland habitat to build nests on ground that is surrounded by water. They also look for food in the wetlands. These are wonderfully watery places that are home to many animals, plants, and grasses. If you ever see cattails growing, that's a good sign that the area is a wetland. These areas help control floods and clean our water. Sandhill cranes seek out food in a variety of habitats, including wetlands, fields, and meadows. But what exactly are they looking for? Sandhill cranes will eat frogs, mice, and other rodents, worms, water plants, insects, snakes, bugs, seeds, wheat, and other grains like barley or corn, small birds, snails, crawfish, and plant tubers. Essentially, cranes will eat whatever food is available. During good years, when there is plenty to eat, both colts will grow big and strong. But sometimes, especially in drought years like we have been having recently here in the Yampa Valley, the parents can't find enough food for 2 colts, and the weaker one will not survive. By the time summer ends, colts have to be strong enough to travel south with their parents to get to their winter home. This journey is called migration. In the fall, right after school starts, cranes are getting ready to migrate south. They leave the Yampa Valley and fly toward New Mexico and Arizona, where they can find food throughout the entire winter while our valley is covered with snow. Migration can be a dangerous time for all birds, including sandhill cranes. Some of the dangers that they face include getting caught in storms, flying into power lines, soaring over mountain ranges, and flying into wind turbines. This migration is a tough journey, and many sandhill cranes won't survive, especially young birds that were born in the spring and are migrating with their parents for the first time. Cranes can fly from 150 to 200 miles in a single day, traveling 15 to 50 miles per hour. When parents are flying south with their young colt for the first time, they often stop along the way to let everyone rest and eat. During migration, cranes fly as high as 13,000 to 14,000 feet in order to cross the Colorado Rockies. While they're wintering in New Mexico and Arizona, sandhill cranes spend their time eating and resting and getting ready for their return migration in the spring. By March, These same birds will migrate north and return to the Yampa Valley in order to nest and raise another family. During the time when sandhill cranes are nesting and raising their babies, they are very secretive. But all the rest of the time, they love to be together in a flock. They communicate with each other through calls, which are called vocalizations. Each call has a special meaning, which sandhill cranes understand from the moment that they hatch. Family members keep in contact with each other through their calls while they are in groups and while they are flying. Let's listen to some crane calls again. These majestic birds have other behaviors that are well understood by other sandhill cranes. The behavior that they are most famous for is their dancing. Cranes are considered to be the best dancers in the animal kingdom. Cranes dance for a variety of reasons. They might be trying to attract a mate, or they might just be excited or frustrated, or maybe they're just trying to release some pent-up energy. Would you like to try to dance like a crane? Start by joining us with a very deep bow. Now stand up tall and try flapping your wings. Keep your legs stiff and stand on one foot, then the other. Toss your head back and call to the sky. Do a pirouette. You're turning now, spinning on one foot. Bravo, crane dancer. Now let's learn a little bit more about the cranes of the world. Sandhill cranes are just one of 15 species of crane that live around the planet. Sandhill cranes are the only cranes that are found in our valley and in Colorado. In addition to sandhill cranes, there are quite a few other large birds that live in the Yampa Valley. Great blue herons are large birds that are sometimes confused with cranes. So how can we tell them apart? Both are big birds and both have gray feathers. But cranes have a red patch on their head, while herons have a long plume on their heads. Cranes build their nests on the ground, while herons build their nests in trees. Herons fly with their necks pulled back close to their bodies in an S shape. By contrast, cranes fly with their necks pointed straight out. Another big bird that people often mistake for cranes when they see them flying are Canada geese. Notice the difference between a flying goose and a flying crane. Both birds stick out their legs straight behind them, but geese have much shorter legs. When geese are flying, they flap their wings very quickly. Cranes have much longer wings and flap more slowly. We hope that you've learned a lot about sandhill cranes today and that you will teach your family and friends about these very special birds that share the Yampa Valley with us. As we come to the end of this lesson, we want you to know that cranes have lived in Colorado for thousands of years. When more and more people move to Colorado and build houses and develop other buildings, it becomes harder and harder for cranes to find safe places to build their nests and to find food. The Colorado Crane Conservation Coalition wants to make sure that cranes and their wetland habitats are protected so that Sandhill cranes can live peacefully with us for many, many more years. We hope that now that you have learned about cranes, you too will feel the same way. There's one last thing we want to share with you. As soon as school starts next fall, the cranes will be getting ready to migrate south to their winter homes, and we will have a Yampa Valley Crane Festival to celebrate them and wish them a safe journey. As part of the festival, there will again be a crane coloring contest. You can download the picture from our website, coloradocranes.org, or wait until summer when entries will be available for pickup and drop-off at the Steamboat Library, Yampa, and Lions Drug. Contest winners will be notified at the end of the summer, and prizes will be awarded during the Crane Festival. You might see lots of cranes flying, or you might see them feeding in the fields or wetlands. But if you see any cranes right now, we want to remind you to be careful not to disturb them, because now is the time when they are building their nests and raising their babies.